This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 1109 of Horse Tip Daily, your almost everyday morsel of helpful hints, useful facts, and practical techniques for horse folks. Greetings, horse people! Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the Stable Scoop radio show. Ellie O'Brien joins show co-hosts Helena B. and Glenda Geek to talk about preventing your horse from becoming cold-backed and what to do if he already is. And we'll get right to it after this from Kentucky Performance Products. How is Summer Games different from other electrolyte products? Summer Games Plus contains the same electrolyte formulation as Summer Games Electrolyte, which was originally formulated for the horses competing at the 1996 Olympics. The formulation was based on the results of research conducted in anticipation of the Games, which were held in Atlanta, Georgia, known for its hot, humid summers. Summer Games mimics the composition of equine sweat, supplying the horse with the exact amounts and ratios of electrolytes relinquished in sweat. Summer Games Plus contains no sugar, like many popular commercial electrolyte supplements. Summer Games Plus also contains a buffering agent that helps create a soothing gastric environment. This is especially important for horses subjected to the stresses often related to top performance, such as exertion, transportation, and unfamiliar stabling atmospheres. Ask for Summer Games and Summer Games Plus electrolytes at your local tack and feed supplier, or visit kppusa.com. Now, on with today's tip.
Well, Ellie, what are we talking about today?
Well, today I thought I would chat about cold-backed horses. I did a post on my Facebook page a little while ago about this, so I thought that I would just bring it up again and have a little bit of a discussion about it.
What is a cold-backed horse?
Well, this seems to be something that's fairly common in both New Zealand and what I've seen over here, and quite often people will say to me like that they'll put the horse's saddle on and it will have its back lifted up, or some of them might even get to bucking and they say like, we have to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes lunging it to work it in to get the horse ready to be ridden. So I mean, that's not something ideal. We don't want our horse to have to feel that way about having a saddle on its back, and quite often not all of us have the time to spend 15 or so minutes working it in on a lunge line, which I mean doesn't fix the problem. It's sort of, I mean, like I just said, it just works them into wearing the saddle. So I guess where I wanted to start was a cold-backed horse is simply one that was let the initial awkward feeling of the saddle being put on for the first time or first few times become a habit, which is not really ideal in the long run. So when you go to start a horse, it's pretty normal for the horse to feel funny about having a saddle on its back. And some horses, you'll get that no matter how much preparation work you do, they'll still want to get to bucking, or, lifting its back up and feeling uncomfortable about it. Some horses, I mean, they're not going to worry about it at all. So over the first few times of putting the saddle on the horse's back, it might show a few signs of wanting to bark or be a bit funny about it, and that's fine. But if you get to about the third or fourth session and it's still wanting to do that, that's when we as the trainer need to come in and start making it a little bit more difficult for the horse to want to bark or feel uncomfortable about the saddle. So how we do that is basically each time the horse gets tense and worried and gets to start bucking or humping around, all I simply do is change the direction that it's going. So by untracking the hindquarters and stepping the shoulders out onto the new direction, it helps the horse to get freed up through the shoulders and move its rib cage out of the way, which is generally where it's getting stuck and feeling uncomfortable. So, and quite often you'll hear like a horse that's tense and not wanting to go forward, or, being cold backed, so to speak. You'll hear them make grunting noises. And that's simply because they're holding all that breath inside them. It's a little bit like as if we, held our breath and somebody thumped on our chest, and, you make a bit of a noise as that air comes out of your body. So, yeah, simply we're just going to keep on changing direction each time that horse gets tense. And as it goes forward nicely, then I'm going to leave it alone. So all I'm doing is making it difficult for it to feel awkward about the saddle, and making it feel really easy and nice and relaxed for the horse to go forward. So it quickly starts to figure out that going forward easily and nicely and moving with the saddle rather than against it is the best option to do than to fight against it. So that's, I guess that's the starting stages, how I combat not creating a horse that's cold backed in the long run. If I'm working with a horse that has had this habit for quite a while, and the people have been trying to work through it by lunging it, and it's not really making a difference or anything, I'm basically just going to do the exact same thing as I would do with that young horse. Work it on, I don't like to call it lunging. I prefer to call it circling, because I'm quite often putting them in a smaller circle, really looking at the shape of their body, making sure that they're going around that track nice and balanced, and changing those directions when it gets to feeling funny, and then letting it go forward nicely when it's feeling relaxed. So because it's like a habit, just like with any habit, whether it's a people habit or a horse habit, it can take a little bit longer to break those things. But it's just about, I guess, reteaching the horses how the horse moves to create new patterns in its body, so that it does feel relaxed and it doesn't have to feel worried or stressed about the saddle being on there in the first place.
So what happens when you, let's say you're new to a particular horse, or you've done something, or suddenly, so let's just say being cold back is a new situation for you, the rider, or it's for the horse you're on. What are the first signs that, how can you prevent a problem from actually becoming a bigger problem? What are the first signs that you said getting locked up, that not that you look for, but for individuals out there who might not be as sensitive, or who might not have as an educated a feel as you do, how can we identify when something's going wrong?
So maybe one thing, like I always break it down into the smaller steps. When I'm approaching the horse with the saddle, does the horse get a little bit worried? When I'm putting the saddle on its back, is it getting worried? When I'm doing the girth up, is it getting worried? Is it tensing up in its body, or its ears going back? Is it getting grumpy in any way about it? Those are all small little signs leading towards the potential possibility that the horse is going to be cold backed. And again, doing up the girth, is the horse, does it lay its ears back and get twitchy, or want to snap at you? That could be a sign that the horse is going to be cold backed. So yeah, like once you've got the saddle on and you've got the horse moving out, you'll see like the horse really tuck its back up and scoot its bottom underneath itself. And for some horses might even get to bucking the first few times, like that you get it moving forward. So those are all little things that we as riders can look out for a horse that is cold backed.
Very good. Well, thank you, Ellie. We appreciate you being here. Where can people find you if they want?
They can find me on Facebook under Ellie O'Brien Finesse Equestrian Training, or I've got a website as well, so you can just type that into Google and I should pop up.
Very good. Thank you, Ellie. Get back to your lessons.
Well, there you have it. You can find links to today's guests as well as lots more tips at horsetipdaily.com. And you can have all of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go by downloading the free Horse Radio Network app for your iPhone or Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. It's quick, it's free, and it's easy. Or you can subscribe via iTunes. This podcast was made possible through the generous support of Kentucky Performance Products and listeners like you. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.